As some psychic propensities have a tendency to flow towards matter, even evolved human beings can be transformed into inert matter if they fall prey to those psychic propensities. Hence, all human beings should carefully avoid bad company. Due to mean psychic ideation, the human mind may imbibe animal tendencies, or may even degenerate to a stage cruder than that. Once the mind degenerates to the inertness of stone, the physical body will also be converted into stone. In Indian mythology, there is a beautiful story illustrating this point. Due to her mean thoughts, Ahilya was turned into inert stone. However, by the grace of Parama-Purusha, she was later reconverted into a human being. When the mind evolves in a physical structure, it becomes responsible for the maintenance of that structure. That initial state of mind, the Kama-Maya Kosha, is only concerned about the needs of the physical body. Thereafter, in the flow of Pratisanchara, one's unit mind comes in contact with other unit minds, which leads to psychic clash. In this way, the hopes and aspirations, the pains and pleasures of one's own mind, becomes interrelated to an interdependent on other minds. Thus, mutual relationship is a kind of psychic clash. An even greater psychic clash occurs when people try to derive mutual benefit through rational intellectual pursuit. Therefore, in our society, the cultivation of knowledge is an indispensable necessity. Those who avoid good company, satsanga, study of good books, svadhyaya, uplifting discourses and healthy analysis, cannot develop any kosha, layer of mind, higher than Kama-Maya kosha. Animals dominated by the Kama-Maya kosha find pleasure in snatching away morsels of food from others' mouths, and in depriving others of their right to live, because to look upon this world with a narrow body-centered outlook, with the development of higher koshas through the process of psychic clash, the existential feelings of human beings do not remain confined to their physical bodies alone, but spread to those around them. Initially they think about the welfare of the members of their own families, but with the gradual development of their minds, they see themselves as members of a global society and become actively engaged in promoting the well-being of all. This gradual process of evolution leads the unit mind towards the macrocosmic mind. The ensconcement in the macrocosmic stance is not possible through morality alone. I will speak the truth, I will not harm anyone. This simple morality alone cannot take human beings very far along the path of progress. So-called moralists can all too easily degrade themselves under the nefarious influence of evil company. The only way to advance is to follow the path of vigorous spiritual practice, to repeat high-sounding words of morality like a parrot, while cherishing narrow sentiments within one's mind, will not take one far. To effect psycho-spiritual expansion, constant spiritual practice is a must. I have called this spiritual practice attraction of the great. Through physical or psychic clash, absolute self-expansion is not possible. Even the awakening of Hiranmaya Kosha is not possible. Of course, physical clash can take a person a certain distance, but not to the final destination. I have already said that only when attraction of the great is supreme can the centrifugal force within the microcosm become strong enough to lead an entity to liberation or salvation. Where there is no attraction for the great, no matter how intellectual or moral a person might be, his or her entire existence will be dominated by the Kama-Maya Kosha. Out of narrow self-interest, such a person will betray low morals at every step in life. Those who have no love for the Supreme may be considered as humans today, but tomorrow will surely degenerate into animals like dogs, and the day after into inert bricks or stones. Now a question may arise. Since animals cannot act independently, and thus cannot discriminate between virtue or vice, only developed human beings can do that. Why do some animals live in constant pleasure, while other animals undergo constant pain? Why are some dogs treated lovingly, fed tasty food and driven around in cars, their heads stuck out of the window to enjoy the fresh breeze, while other dogs are forced to eat out of dustbins to survive? or are shot by hunters' bullets, or are run over by passing cars? The answer to these questions have already been given. In most cases, the psychic clash caused by these incidents under the directions of Prakriti help to accelerate the dog's psychic development. In the attraction of the great lies the secret of greater well-being. You will have to rush towards the fundamental source of the entire creation. You will have to merge your individual stance in the absolute stance of the supreme transcendental entity. You will have to advance at a speed greater than that of ordinary microcosms in the cosmic cycle. Having accelerated your speed, if you embrace the force of vidya, rejecting avidya, you will certainly reach the macrocosmic nucleus. If non-attributional Brahma and not Purushottama is accepted as the goal, one will transcend the cosmic cycle. This transcendence is not affected by the centrifugal force of macrocosmic nucleus, because that force is confined to the periphery of Saguna Brahma. One will have to transcend the cosmic cycle with the help of the cognitive force. To become one with the macrocosm is called liberation, and to transcend the periphery of the cosmic cycle and become one with the non-attributional stance is called salvation. The tangential entity which connects the path of liberation and the path of salvation, who, although infinite, comes within the domain of the finite, is called Taraka Brahma. Whether you want to become one with Purushottama, or one with a non-attributional stance, or one with Taraka Brahma, you will have to continue your spiritual pursuit. You will have to surrender yourself to the force of attraction of the great. The one performing sadhana must be ever vigilant to ensure that the small I cannot hinder spiritual progress. The ego that can so easily develop on the path of knowledge and action may not develop at all on the path of devotion. A spiritual aspirant must take the help of devotion at the final stage of spiritual attainment. If ego remains, even on the path of devotion, the best way to counteract it is to superimpose cosmic ideation on the small I feeling through devotion. Intelligent people should understand that the objects their ego uses as its support may not last long. The vanity of power of today will disappear tomorrow. The leader of today may be thrown out of office tomorrow. Those who clamor for a chance to garland them today will not even cast a glance at them tomorrow. A man swollen with the pride of scholarship today may become mentally abnormal tomorrow. People will point at him and say, "See that lunatic over there? He used to be a great scholar." The vanity expressed by the so-called civilization human beings of today is extremely dangerous. These people hide the cruder propensities of the mind under the cloak of sweet words and decent behavior. They are more harmful to the well-being of the human race than the so-called uncivilized humans. Because they are hypocrites, the defects of the uncivilized humans pale in insignificance before their abominable hypocrisy. The uncivilized humans of the past may have killed 12 people at most in the battles they fought with bows, arrows, sticks and spears, but the so-called civilized human beings of today kill millions of unarmed, innocent people indiscriminately with their dreadful and lethal weapons. Human society of today is being exploited by the so-called civilized people. Such people should not make themselves look ridiculous by claiming otherwise. All entities must advance along the path of progress. This evolution will lead to the expansion of the psychic arena and ultimately liberation. This struggle for liberation is the struggle against those forces which attempt to thwart one's psychic expansion. These are one's enemies. Through meditation and contemplation, one must surrender oneself at the altar of the Almighty, merging one's finite identity into the infinite. Only by surrendering one's mind to the vast macrocosm and becoming one with the supreme consciousness can one attain final salvation. The struggle for salvation is the struggle against those forces which strive to prevent one's total self-surrender to the Supreme. Never retreat, keep advancing, you will certainly attain the highest fulfillment of your existence. Asharshi Purnima, 1958, DMC Gorakhpur.